Hello. Welcome to Moving Through Menopause. I'm sorry if we're a little bit late. So this episode, I'm so excited and thrilled to be chatting with Sue Willoughby. And if you've ever thought, I feel stuck, I'm too old to start over. Ooh, well, I might be thinking that a bit lately. I've lost my spark. Oh, that's no fun, is it? Then you know what? This episode is for you. And so I'm joined by Sue Willoughby. Her story is one of grit, transformation, and finding her purpose, which, that's so wonderful. I love that about you. Sue's early years were defined by struggle and self-neglect, but a move across the country and a profound connection with horses changed everything. So, you know what? It's never too late to create the life you were meant for. So let's dive into this conversation right away. And so welcome, Sue, to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on this morning. I really appreciate it. Well, it's morning for me here in the west coast of the U.S.
Well, I was going to say, where in the world are you?
Yeah, I'm in the Seattle area. Yes, I'm in the Seattle area.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's afternoon here where I am in the UK, but you know what? It's gin o'clock somewhere, as they say. So you know what? You've told me that you've navigated some huge turning points in your own life. Mm-hmm. What one do you think taught you the most about moving through fear and uncertainty?
Wow, that is a very big question. There were, like you said, there were so many turning points in my life, and I would say that a huge pivotal point in my life was when I did move cross country. I met someone, and they asked me to move cross country with them. And I was like, okay, there was nothing keeping me on the East Coast of the United States. So I took the opportunity, and it literally changed my life. It got me out of, circles of people that I was hanging out with that were probably not my best choices. And it also opened up doors and opportunities for me because it put me in with a different group of people that were, and I won't say above me, but in some ways had led different earlier lives and were more inspiring and uplifting. And I think that's probably the best way to put it. And I had the opportunity to explore new opportunities and to grow and to discover a different version of me that I guess I always knew was there. But for one thing or another, I was kind of just, going through life, surviving rather than thriving. And I feel like moving to the Seattle area, probably now it's been over 30 years, was really a very pivotal point in my life.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a long way from east to west, isn't it? It's a very long way. And a big cultural shift, I imagine, as well.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So much, so different. Yes, very different. Although, now, I don't know, Seattle has grown up so much in the past 30 years. It's still not, I do have a little bit of an East Coast edge to me. And people kind of pick up on that. And I tend to gravitate towards other people that grew up on the East Coast or identify with them. And so it's kind of interesting.
It's funny that, isn't it? And I totally resonate with what you say, because I've been married to a military, serving military man, and we moved around a lot. And actually, Sue, I spent 5 years living in the good old USA, in Colorado Springs. Now, I absolutely loved it there, and it was my spiritual home, and I miss it. I miss it dreadfully, even after over 10 years of being back in the UK.
Wow.
But it has been that, as I've moved about, I've met people, different people. I've had different hobbies and interests. And I really do feel, like you said, that I've grown as a consequence of doing that.
Yeah.
Now, it's also stressed me out. Like, I can't even begin to tell you, living, because we'd be 2 or 3 years in one place and then be moving on. And
That's
Yeah.
difficult.
Oh,
It is
it,
difficult to move that frequently. Like, when I said I've
mm,
been out here for over 30 years, and in that time,
mhm.
I've lived in one place, and then I literally moved to the
Sure.
house next door.
Oh,
And then but now I live outside of the Seattle area because I wanted to be closer to my horse, so
well, now talking about horses, we've got this in common because I love horses, and since I was a kid, I begged my mom for riding lessons, and it wasn't really in our, a sphere of affordability, shall we say?
yes.
And they had to scrimp and save to pay for the odd riding lesson, which obviously I absolutely loved, but when I lived in America, I was very lucky to have a friend with 3 horses,
Mm.
and she only had 1 bottom. So my bottom came in very handy with these horses. And so I rode Western style, which I loved, and I did that, for 3 times a week, and I
Oh,
absolutely loved it.
nice.
So I kind of get horses, but what sort of what is it about horses? Tell us about horses.
Again, another big question. What is it about horses? Where do I start? There's so much about horses, and like you, I think a lot of girls have a horsey phase, and some girls grow out of it, and some don't,
True.
right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
but because of the way I grew up, and my mom was an alcoholic, and it
Oh,
was, not always the funnest place to be at home, but I would go to the barn. I would beg her. I'm like, "Take me to the barn, take me to the barn." And like at early in the morning, I would be there all day, sometimes all weekend. And I would, live basically move in with the family that owned the ridings. They had
mm.
6 kids. They were like, "What's one more? Who cares?"
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but it was amazing. From the time I was a little girl, I just loved the smell of them. I loved, hearing them chew their food. There was something about them that and I didn't understand it at the time. I just
Mhm,
knew that it was comforting, and I felt safe there. And I felt like it was the place that I really wanted and needed to be, because I felt happy. I felt good. So I would go
mm,
and I would clean stalls. I would, like I said, we didn't have a lot of money either. And, I could pay for a little bit of the riding, but then I would do chores around the barn and help out and feed the horses and do whatever. And then I would ride other people's horses because I couldn't
mm,
afford a horse of my own.
mm,
So it was a big part of my life growing up, and it was a part that was really important to me. And like I said, I didn't understand until later on just how important it was and what was actually happening, physically and emotionally, and that the horses were I was connecting with them on a heart-centered level, and that's why it felt so comforting to me. They
mm,
Through nonverbal communication, we just connected, and I would just be with them all the time. I just loved it so, so much. And then as I got older, you start doing other things, but the horses were still always there. It's funny, but there was, like, always this thread, like a horse would come into
mm,
my life at just the right moment, like, "Huh, this is interesting." And then when I was probably in my late teens, I found a summer camp that needed horseback riding people, and it
ah,
was a camp for individuals with special needs. And I went to summer camp and was a part of their horse riding program. And it was a therapeutic riding program at the time.
mm,
I had no concept of what that was, but it was so amazing to see how these individuals with varying degrees of disabilities, whether it was, whether they were on the autism spectrum or whether they were emotionally disturbed, whatever it was that they had going on, it could have been a physical disability.
mm.
They would connect with the horses in ways that they couldn't connect with people, and it was super fun. Now, some of the campers would get really nervous, and we'd have to have, special, like, certain things to get them on the horses, but once they were on the horse, they would love it, and it
Mhm.
was just so fun. It was just a really intense, wonderful summer, and I went back multiple summers after that. So, they've always just kind of been a thread for me.
So was that ultimately your work then? Did you, because I know this is something that you're doing now, the
Yeah.
coaching, Equus coaching,
Mhm.
using horses for um, well-being, I guess.
Mhm.
This all with adults, or are the children still involved, or?
Well, no. So, and I've also volunteered later on at therapeutic riding centers
Uh,
where it was, people were riding the horses, and that was, the age range varies, right? Could be young
sure. Yeah, yeah,
people,
yeah.
could be adults, whatever. But the work that I do now, when I partner with horses, it came through all of that
Mm,
kind of understanding and you know how the universe works in mysterious ways.
mm,
One thing leads to another, and I found myself being curious about. I really did think about doing therapeutic riding as a career,
mm,
but then there was the whole riding aspect, and I wasn't really a trainer or that, and I didn't want to get into that whole piece of it. But I did love being around the horses, and I knew that they could help. And I found a program that did coaching with horses, and that was Equus Coaching. And
okay.
I went through multiple levels of training. So I'm a certified Equus coach. I'm a certified master or facilitator, master facilitator, which means that I can also do group coaching events, which is really kind of fun.
Mm,
But it taught me a different way of being with the horses and understanding how we connect with them. So all these things that were happening to me over the
mm,
years, now I was like, "Oh, I get it now."
uh,
That they were communicating with me. They were holding space for me. I was part of their herd. So that's the thing about horses when you said, "What's so special about them or why do we use them?" Because honestly, people don't understand this, but they are prey animals. They're big animals,
mm,
and they
mm,
may be 1,200 pounds, but they're still prey animals. And
right.
so they're very, very sensitive on so many levels. And
Mm,
their ears work independently of each other. Their eyes, they have almost 360
mm,
degree vision, their skin is sensitive. You'll see them twitch a little tiny piece of skin to
mm,
get a fly off. I mean, really, that's amazing. And they're obviously nonverbal communicators. They do, they'll whinny or nicker at their
mm,
herd mates, but they're very reliant on sensing everything and taking in information and then processing it and then letting it go. And basically what they're doing is they're like, "Oh, they hear a sound, they look, they become alert and they're like, "What is that? Am I in danger? Is this going to
mm,
hurt me? Do I need to get out of here?" And they may look at some of their other herd mates and go, "Oh, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Oh, nothing. Okay, it was nothing." And then they'll go back to grazing, right? They just let it go. So what they can teach us, what do we do when something happens to us? We hang on to it, and we make a
mm,
story about it. We replay
mm,
that story. We just, and on and on and on, and because 'cause we're so in our heads. Horses
mm,
are in the moment, every moment, because that's instinctually where they were designed to be. They are constantly assessing what's going on in their environment and then letting it go. And that's the beautiful thing about horses, that we can learn
mm.
from them.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, when you said the smell of horses, I could almost smell it in the room. That smell is just so sweet and delicious.
It is.
And being around them is, because I'm a physiotherapist, and obviously therapeutic riding is something that, a bit like you, I considered because of loving horses. Do you know what? I also considered applying to be a Canadian Mountie at one point.
Ooh, fun. I love
I
it.
know. I think I was only about 12 at the
Oh,
time. But, and a mounted policewoman. I thought, oh, I want to be a policewoman on
very
horses.
cool.
Yeah, but that never happened. I'm a physiotherapist since I was 18 years old, and
Oh,
so, it's a funny thing that I had a skiing accident also when I lived in Colorado. And after that, I had a nasty concussion and somebody took me out. I wasn't expecting it. And ever since, I've not been able to get on a horse.
Mm.
And because of fear of heights or fear of falling, I think is what it is. And I miss it dreadfully. And do you know what you say about horses coming into your life? Down the road from where I live, there's this young woman who's opened up a therapeutic riding center.
Oh, cool.
And for honestly, for about 2 years, I've been thinking to myself, I wonder if I could volunteer to go
Yeah.
down there and do something. And you know what, Sue, you've talked about volunteering
Mhm.
to, over the course of your life to be spending time around horses. And so I've no idea what's getting in my way of doing that. Honestly, it's
Yeah.
madness, isn't it?
Yeah, you should do it. They always need volunteers. I mean, whether it's
Yeah, true.
to work with the horses, with the clients, there's
Mm,
so many opportunities with that, or just to
mm,
be around the horses and groom them and
true.
all
Yeah.
kinds of things. But yeah, then you
Yeah.
can get that beautiful sweet horse smell back.
But this is the thing that we're kind of talking about, embracing change.
Mhm,
In midlife and beyond, change is being thrust upon us. Physiologically, we're
mhm.
changing. Life is changing for those of us who have had, child rearing experiences, and the children are sort of, waving at you now and saying cheerio. uh, and your body is changing. There's so much about midlife where so much change going on, and so embracing change can be a difficult thing for
Mhm.
people, for women. So how can horses help?
Well, horses can get you out of your comfort zone pretty quickly.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah, that is true.
The other thing about horses is, I just want to be clear about the work that I do is not
Sure.
riding.
No.
Everything that we do is on the ground. And through the interaction with the horse, you're building a relationship, and it gives people an experiential opportunity to confront some of those fears in a safe container. So the horses are not going to judge you. And I think a lot of that has to do with, moving forward and getting out of your comfort zone and having
Mm,
embracing change is all about fear. And it can be fear
mm,
of a lot of things, fear of looking foolish, fear of other people judging you, fear of I don't even know who I am anymore, right?
mm,
Whether,
mm,
like you said, you maybe women have been like a mom or a corporate executive and a mom
mm,
or
mm,
whatever it is, but we get these identities and then we don't know how to shift and change and do something new because we're seen as this one thing, and that's how people identify with us.
mm,
Horses give us the opportunity to explore other identities and other ways of being through relationship, through communication on a different level. So the horses they look for or they sense incongruency. So when we're
mm,
with them, if we are putting on that facade that we all put on and how we want the world to see us, horses do not see that. They see right through it and they feel right through it. They
mm,
connect with us at a very physiological way, right? They can sense our heartbeats, our biorhythms, if we're hiding something. And if they sense that we are hiding something and we're trying to pretend like we're not afraid or we're not whatever it is that we're putting forward or we think we're putting forward, they can see and feel right through that. And they can help us, if we allow them to, be supportive and open up a container for us to explore and connect in different ways. And then we can take those skills that we learn in the arena with the horse out into our real lives And it creates a bit of awareness and curiosity, which I think is really important, that we forget about. We forget how to be curious. We forget how to be, uh, a new, fresh eyes in a beginner. We don't
Mm.
want to be beginners, because what do beginners look like? Beginners look stupid, and nobody wants to look stupid at our age, right? We're like, we got all this stuff figured out. We don't need.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is so obviously what you're saying is you're the facilitator
Yes.
between, I guess, the conduit between the horse and your clients.
Mhm.
You're the person who facilitates this safe interaction, this space, this journey, learning kind of journey, whatever that's going to be. And I guess that's different for different people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the person will be interacting with the horse, and I'm looking at the horse's behavior. And
Oh, okay.
and I'm watching how the horse is interacting or not interacting with this person. And
Mm.
I can then it allows me to ask very good open-ended kind of coaching questions. And I may also ask the person what they're seeing, why, what they're observing in the horse's behavior. And it's very interesting because a lot of times they'll just transfer their stuff onto the horse. The
Mm.
horse doesn't like me. The horse is bored with me. The horse, right? And it's like, not about the horse,
Oh,
not
no.
about the horse. The horse has no clue that, the horse has
Mm.
no feelings about that
No, no, no,
whatsoever. If the
no.
horse is staying away from you, it's because you're not being congruent and you're not being true to yourself. So they can really cut to the chase very quickly, just by being themselves. And that's all they do. There's no special training. They're just in there being a horse, which is really kind of cool.
Well, it's it really is, and I did do a bit when I was in Colorado, a bit of training in the round pen with this guy who was a you know horse whisperer, for want of a better word. She's laughing. Um, but it's kind of really connecting with what the horse is thinking, so that you can, in this instance anyway,
Mm,
so that you could kind of manipulate the behavior, so that you could encourage the horse to relax or chillax or trot or canter or whatever, go through the paces, change direction, things like this, all with just very subtle movements of your body, and almost transmitting it with your mind.
mhm.
So I suppose it's a bit kind of almost the opposite really now, is it?
Yeah, it's interesting because there is no manipulation, there's
No,
no
no,
trying to get the horse to do
do
something, but
anything.
when you talk about that, it's very interesting to see how people will approach a horse. Like, if you ask someone to approach the horse and maybe have them lift up their foot. Some people will go in there like, "I can make this horse do anything," and they, trying to strong arm the horse, and the horse is like, "No, not happening, not happening," because they don't understand. So horses are
Mm,
really good at making that communication. And what you were talking about is basically building a communication skill.
mm,
Um, and I think, manipulation is a funny word, but
mm,
but
yeah.
to be able to communicate with the horse what you what your intentions are, they may have other intentions, which they frequently do, but how can you communicate on a level with the horse that it is a partnership? And I think that
Yeah,
that's kind of
yeah,
the big, how can you develop a relationship with the animal? So the
yeah, yeah.
horses are, the same thing. They're at liberty. They're free to move around. They can approach you. They can not approach you. Uh, they can, if they want to drop to the ground and roll, they can do that. They're free to do that. And it's just really interesting to see how the horse feels, what it's sensing from the individual, because when you're in their space, you are part of their herd. So they may look to you for leadership. And
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
because the thing is, they will, if they're out in a pasture with a group of other horses, they're communicating with each other through very, very subtle movements and very subtle things. And if something fearful does come up or enter their sphere, they are going to look to the calmest, most grounded horse in the group. And I tell you right now, it's usually the mare. It's usually one of the female horses. And then they're going to be like, hey, what do we do here? And if they see her go back to grazing, then they'll go back to grazing. So we're in partnership with them. We're part of their herd. And if they don't feel safe with a herd member, then they're going to get away from the herd member. Or if they don't understand what's going on with that herd member, then they're going to be a little bit more cautious because they are prey animals, as I said, and we're predators. Big surprise.
Yeah. Well, no, you're absolutely right. And listening to you speak about that, that is completely what we were, aiming for in those sessions. It's just I didn't really have the language to describe it. I'm a physiotherapist, don't forget. So we do manipulations and things like that. But you described that beautifully, and it really was that.
It's communication.
But and so we both stood to benefit from that. But at that time, it wasn't, the purpose of that interaction was not for me to unpick anything in my life. At that time, it was much more about helping the horse to behave, I suppose, was part of that interaction. So the thing that I'm constantly kind of exploring really is our capacity for change, and how challenging this is for so many people, despite knowing that it would be good for us. Maybe even it's something you've tried in the past and it worked, but you can't stick at it. And so how is what you're doing with horses and people, helping people to make changes? And I suppose I'm kind of answering my own question a bit here, but hang on. Wait, I'll come back to you. My ear thing fell out. The person comes with an objective, I suppose. For me, people come with the objective of getting out of pain and perhaps lifestyle change to be healthier, fitter, healthier. But they're probably coming to you for different reasons, different changes that they might want to make in their lives. So speaking to the kinds of things that you're encountering with your clients, how is it that A, we find it so hard, and B, how do horses help us with this stuff?
That's a good question. And the thing is, when you talk about the body, right? The body holds everything, emotions and all of that stuff. So through some Equus coaching sessions, it can also help release some of those things, because the work is very grounding and it is very somatic in a way that you are encouraged to be in your body, just like the horse is in their body. And and be able to identify some of those triggers and some of those things that when they come up, where do you feel them in your body first before they actually come out? Whether it's anger, whether it's fear, whether it's whatever, we store all that stuff in our body. And I think, from your point of view and your the way you work with people, you're definitely working on more the physical. How can we get healthier physically and so forth. And they kind of go hand in hand. So how can horses help people make change? People will come to me for any number of things. It can be a relationship. It can be a life change. It can be just, I'm stuck. I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to get out of this identity that I've created, that I've become, that has become me. I want to be me again. Where am I in all of this? So it can help to, peel back the layers by getting back in your body and by understanding better ways to communicate. If you've become a people pleaser, and there's so many of us out there. I'm a reformed people pleaser. there are so many different things that we can tap into.
Mm.
Just by observing the horse's reaction to us, it gives us the opportunity to build a different relationship with ourselves and find out what those pieces are, to then be able to either change them. Awareness is the biggest thing. Just
Mm.
like I said, back to the horse being aware of everything in its surroundings. We tend to not be in our bodies very much. We tend to
Mm.
be in our heads most of the time, and we
Yeah.
overthink everything. And like I said, we create stories and we replay those stories. And rather than being in our bodies and being in, it's fun to also just be in nature and just be. We don't
Mm.
usually give ourselves the opportunity to just be. And when we get quiet, things can get loud. If you know what I mean. If we're
Yeah.
quiet, all those things will start to bubble up. But if we can approach them from a point of curiosity and awareness, that also helps to break down these walls that we've built up around us, that comfort zone that we've created
Mm.
little by little, and understand that it's not so scary. It's it's very there's a very fine line between where we are now and where we want to be. But some people don't even know how to think about where they might want to go, if that makes
Mm.
sense. And the
Yeah,
horses
yeah,
are great to help that out. And I think when people are in talk therapy or talk coaching, um, once again, it's coming from your head. It's not coming from your heart. It's not coming from your
mm,
body.
mm.
So to be able to do that, I mean, even when I do coaching sessions online, I bring people back into their bodies, even though the horse is not there, because I feel like I'm part horse sometimes. Uh, but I bring a lot of that horse wisdom when it's like, okay, are you being honest here? Because I'm picking up a lot of intuitive hits from you that you're not. So did that help answer your question a little bit?
Yes, yes, yes. No, I mean, that's interesting that kind of it's almost your DNA is being changed by this
Yeah.
ability to notice and observe how the horses are in their in their natural
Yeah.
surroundings, and then you're kind of getting a bit taking some of that on yourself. I can see how that would happen. Being very much an empath and intuitively working with people
Mhm.
and being around so many people for so many years, you do develop skills that other ordinary people who don't do this line of work just couldn't have.
Right.
It's not in the DNA. So if somebody is feeling totally stuck, what's the first small step that they could take that wouldn't feel overwhelming?
Hmm. That's a great question. Part of it is I think people have trouble giving themselves permission to even
Mm.
take a step.
Mhm.
And getting that personal permission slip signed is a big one. So, you may even have to write it down, like, "I'm giving
Mm.
myself permission to explore new opportunities." But I think a lot of it, like I said, I always go back to curiosity. I have always been a very curious person, and part of it is, like, I don't know, it's how I grew up. Maybe the fact that I'm an only child, I always had to entertain myself,
Mm.
but I've always just been curious. I'm a lifelong learner. There's a million
Mm.
things that I've tried. I think
Mhm.
when you read my bio, I mean, I've done so many different things, but it's because, something will pop into my, I'm like eyes wide open, right? Something pops up and it's like an opportunity. It's like, oh, you want to learn to fly an airplane? Sure, let's do that. Okay. Uh, you know, want to learn to
Yeah.
play polo at 64? Sure, let's do that. But I think,
Oh,
that
yeah.
we have opportunities in front of us all the time, but we are so shut down that we don't
Mm.
even. So I think the easiest thing is to start being quiet, stepping away from social media, going for a walk, looking at things that, are in your normal routine from a different perspective and having fresh eyes. If you're going for a walk through your neighborhood that you've been through a million times, Look at it differently. Pretend it's the very first time that you've walked down that same street. See what you notice. And once you start to notice different things, your brain starts to open up, your body
Mm.
starts to open up, and you start going, oh, there's a whole world out there that I had completely shut out. And I mean, it's not
Mm.
that easy, but it's a very simple way to just start being aware of your surroundings in a new and fresh way. And there's going to be things that you're going to be, oh, yeah, that doesn't fit anymore, right? Then you'll start to feel that I can get rid of this thing. This no longer serves me. And once you do start to release things that no longer serve you, guess what? You've got a lot more space
Mm.
for those new opportunities that are going to start to bubble up.
Yeah, because busyness is a big
Mhm.
kind of I'll call it an excuse, for not being able to
I'm
do
too
things.
busy. Yes, I'm too busy.
Yeah, everybody's so busy, and we don't have time, and
Mhm.
blah blah blah. But there you go. You just found a whole load of time. If you turn off the social media for a little bit, you
Right?
found a whole load of time. So yeah, that's really a great first step. And you did mention, actually, I meant to pick up on the fact that you don't always work with horses, because I was going to say, do we have to come to see you in Seattle? And
Yes, I would love that.
right, I'm booking the flight.
Please.
But you said you also can do coaching sessions with people
Mhm.
virtually, without the horses being present, and just channeling your horsey tendencies, is what you're saying. Yes.
Yes, yes, I do that as well. And then I also host retreats in various
Oh
places.
no. You do you want a physiotherapist who teaches Pilates and yoga to come along?
Yes, yes.
Count me
Let's do
in.
it. I'll come to you and we can do a retreat
Horses
together.
down, yeah, we've got
Yeah,
horses down the street,
yeah, absolutely.
within skipping distance, honestly.
I love it. Let's
Yeah.
skip. I love to skip. It's kind of a very freeing activity.
Well, I'll tell you what, me and three other I call them girls. We're still girls, aren't we, at the
Yeah,
end of the day?
absolutely. Yeah.
We went on Friday night, and we were in a karaoke booth, just
Like,
the four of us. Picture the scene,
oh my
honestly.
God. I
we
love it.
were we were giving it, and just like no inhibitions, no nothing. We were singing our hearts out for 1 full hour. Somebody came in partway through to offer us a drink, and we were kind of like, no, go, we're too busy singing, go away. Anyway, so I tell you what, Betsy, I had the best night's sleep I've had for ages after that. Just, I don't know, something really so freeing, and
Yeah.
yeah, that was so
Laughter
great.
too. I bet you were laughing a
Oh,
lot
oh,
and really enjoying you were just free.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, there was a lot of laughter. So so what's one idea? I know you told us about walking around the neighborhood with fresh eyes, and but have you got another one idea that people could take away and apply from this conversation today?
Yes. So that last one was to just start looking at things with fresh eyes, just in general, not just walking around your neighborhood. So
Sure.
wherever you are, take a different route to work, do something else. And when these opportunities start to bubble up, or when you start to have things that you're curious about, write them down. So
Ah,
take a list of, or get out a piece of paper and say, if I had no inhibitions, right? If I didn't wasn't afraid, or if I wasn't intimidated to do things, I would do blank. And then
mm,
just and make put yourself in a quiet space, and don't, notice distractions, and just get grounded, take a few deep breaths, write out that sentence. If I were not afraid to, whatever, I would love to do blah, whatever it is. And then just
mm,
start writing all of the things that, maybe you did as a kid, that
mm,
whatever, that you've put on a back burner. Write, 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 write. Just keep writing until you can't write anymore. And then go
mm,
back and pick one thing. One thing.
yeah. Right.
Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it.
Mhm.
Don't censor yourself. Just pick one thing. And that one thing, when you're looking down the list, it's going to be the first thing that calls your attention. It's just going to be like
Uh,
boom, right?
yeah.
I feel it in my soul, right? This feels like it's going to fire me up. That one thing. And then when you have that one thing, I'm not saying to go all in on it. Figure out how you can find out more about this one thing. If you don't know anything about it, maybe it's something completely new. Start doing a
Mm.
little research, get on the Googles, maybe take a class, start to explore. If I were interested, if I could do this one thing, how would I go about it? Right? So that's a really, and it's kind of a fun exercise. Like you said, get in the karaoke booth and sing your heart out. Well,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
free yourself.
yeah. Well, exactly. When, I did want to be a pop star, as it happens. So that was it. Maybe I'm not going to be on top of the pops anytime soon, but in my own living room, or whatever, you can be a legend in your own living room, can't you? At the end of the day.
Absolutely. Or in your own shower.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Really good acoustics in the bathroom. So,
Or in your own
oh,
car. I like to sing in the car too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's another good place for singing. So now we're singing on horses, singing and
Sure. You can sing with the
yeah.
horses. They don't mind.
Oh, well, I'm really definitely you've put horses back on my agenda because it has been there
I love
since
it.
it's yeah. Oh, well, thank you. And I've got absolutely no excuse for not doing it. I've met the girl that has the stable down the street, and I can literally skip there. So,
And then talk to her and find out how we can set up a retreat, and I will
Mhm.
book my flight, and then we'll be out there. That'd be great.
Right. No, no, we're doing it.
I love it.
So yeah, and this is it, isn't it? Giving ourselves permission. That was your other thing, that we really must give ourselves permission, and time is precious, but we've all got the same amount of time, and busy people manage to fit a lot in, so we can find this window of time. I've started a routine every morning of brushing my skin, which
Oh, yeah.
instead of saying to myself, I hate my dry skin, which I do, as it happens, I decided, do you know what? Why am I moaning about this skin? Let's just give it a brush every morning, because it will benefit from that.
Mhm,
It's improving the lymphatic drainage. And you know what? I guess I've been doing it for about 2 weeks now. And
mhm.
I feel so much better for doing it. And I can see changes in the texture of my skin, and I can feel changes.
Yeah.
So, small things. It doesn't have to be a huge thing, does it? For us to feel like we've really given ourselves a little bit of nourishing in the early part of the day. Set the alarm 10 minutes earlier, and you can fit in, 10 minutes of something that nourishes your soul.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I love that. The dry brushing, because it's what, and that's the thing. I'll just say this one quick thing.
Go on.
I love that you talk about that, because it's like all of a sudden, did you notice, like, oh, my skin's fine. All of a sudden, did you notice, like, you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, I got that crepey skin, the crepey
Mm,
skin. It's like, oh
mm,
my God, I just feel like that's awful.
I
That was
know.
probably like the worst thing for me too. So yes, I'm
Yeah.
glad you're embracing the dry brushing. Oh my God,
Yeah.
how do we get to here? Okay.
Well, I mean, and honestly, I was out the other day walking, and I saw a horse, and it had the sweat marks from where the saddle had been, and I thought, oh, somebody should have given that horse a better brush
Yeah.
afterwards, shouldn't
Loosen
they?
up the hair, because the hair gets matted down when the
Mm,
saddle's on there and
yeah,
everything, and yeah.
yeah.
The horse will
So,
just
so
roll and take care of it themselves, though.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you said that, because I was a bit worried about the horse when I saw. But yeah, you're right. And isn't it so lovely when you see that gigantic animal like flip over with all four legs in the
Oh,
air, rolling around?
crazy. Yes, and they're moaning and they're snorting, and then
And
my horse will
oh,
get up and then they shake off, and then yeah,
yeah.
it's hysterical. I know, it's amazing. How
Oh,
can they get up and down? I'm like, "Oh my God." It's incredible.
yeah. Yeah. So we could have fun chatting all day, Sue, but But do tell us all, where can people find you?
Yes, thank you. My website is willoughbycoaching.com. And I'm also on Instagram pretty much a lot. And that's Sue_Willoughby, my last name. And then I also have my own podcast called Midlife Strategies for Badass Women.
Oh, Sue, I feel a return visit coming on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do a pod swap.
I don't know if I'm a badass woman, but anyway.
Yeah, you are. We're all badasses. That's what I'm trying to tell people.
I need to channel my inner badass. So, yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for that. And of course, those details will be in the show notes for people to find you online. And thank you so much for giving your time today and having a fun conversation that I really hope people can take something useful away from. And if not, they just had a laugh at us chit-chatting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's all good. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much. And so take care. It's bye from me. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Bye for now. And bye from Sue.